Hi guys, before you watch the video, a massive shout out to our sponsors, Stocks FC. For those of you who don't know what Stocks FC is, it is the place where you can buy and sell your favorite footballers as stocks. So if you want to buy shares in Cole Palmer, you can make a little bit of money and showcase your ball knowledge to your mates. It's something a little bit different, but it's lots of fun as well. There's a QR code on screen as well as a link in the description. Check out Stocks FC, and I look forward to hearing back from you about your thoughts. All the best, guys, and enjoy the video. In this video today, I'm going to be speaking about Robert Sanchez, a player that has been at Chelsea only a couple of years. It's his second season at the club, and he's making headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. And it's not even the first time that this has happened. It's not even the second time. Not even the third time. I could go on and on and on about Robert Sanchez and why he's not good enough and why I don't want him in the club and why basically every single fan of Chelsea doesn't want him to be a part of the club. And how did he get to this point where we still question whether against West Ham on Monday, Enzo Maresca is going to play Robert Sanchez instead of Jorgensen? I mean, it's just baffling, isn't it? I can't understand it. I can't make any sense of it. He's made the most mistakes in the league this year, leading to goals, 5 in total. We're only just halfway through the season, maybe just over. And people are saying we should have faith in this goalkeeper. Obviously not. It's an absolute disgrace that he was brought in. Now, the recruitment do deserve some recognition for some of the business that we've done, and we've done some good deals. There's no doubt about that. I think that when you look at players like Pedro Neto coming in, Cole Palmer, even Nicholas Jackson, who I don't have a problem with, to be fair. Obviously, he could be better with his finishing, but for the money we paid, it's not a bad deal at all. We've made some good deals. But Robert Sanchez is one that always baffled me. It baffled everyone that was a part of the club, but we thought that maybe Ben Roberts, who was associated with Robert Sanchez before from his time at Brighton, we thought maybe Ben Roberts knows something that we don't know. Maybe Ben Roberts knows something that Robert De Zerbi never knew when he dropped Sanchez from Brighton. I don't even think he was the second choice at Brighton. I think at one point he was third. The fact that Brighton got £25 million from Chelsea for this player is a testament to how good their business was. And they took us for mugs with a lot of players. But you look at Caicedo and you look at Cucurella, the money we spent on those guys, well, over £150 million combined. At least you can say, you know what, they're top players. Cucurella is arguably the best left back in the league. Caicedo, arguably the best centre midfielder in the league. So I can justify paying the money for it. 25 million is not a lot in the modern day. But it is when a player is as bad as Robert Sanchez is. He has to be the worst goalkeeper in the league. And I can't believe I'm saying it. I mean, I'm basically hating on my own player, aren't I? But if this is the player that costs us top 4, then it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. And look, Robert Sanchez can't do anything about who he is. He is who he is. He's a goalkeeper and he makes a lot of mistakes. He also makes some fantastic saves. But it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And Enzo Maresca needs to change something, and he needs to change something now against West Ham. You know, he come out and he did admit that he could change his goalkeeper after the errors that Robert Sanchez has made. You know, he says you can't make those mistakes every single game. So there is a doubt in that sense as to whether Robert Sanchez will start against West Ham, but I still think it's 50-50 if I'm totally honest. And the fact that I'm saying that is crazy. Which managers in the Premier League would start Robert Sanchez or even consider starting Robert Sanchez when you look at the artillery around you in those same positions and you don't just have one goalkeeper that's better, you have 2. You got Petrovic on loan. Liam Rosnier, the Strasbourg manager, is saying he's world class at the moment. And you've got Jorgensen, who was one of the best goalkeepers in La Liga last season statistically, rotting on the bench, being forced to play Conference League minutes and pity minutes against Morecambe. I don't understand it. It makes no sense to me. I can understand frustration, not just from the fans, but from the players as well. And Man City, Robert Sanchez clearly cost us that game. And everyone who says that it was just because of the way we played and everything like that, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. Jackson should have scored. We should have capitalised on more chances. I agree with that. But if we hadn't have conceded a stupid goal from Robert Sanchez in the first place, we could have been in there to do something. We could have actually come back and at least taken a point from that game, even though people saying City were there for the taking. But it's not just about one game, as I said. It's about multiple scenarios, multiple situations where Robert Sanchez has cost us. He's cost the team. He's made life as a Chelsea player harder than it needs to be. You've got to trust the goalkeeper behind you if you're a centre-back. He's had barely any clean sheets in the games he's been involved in. You know, we're looking at 21 appearances over the season for Robert Sanchez, 27 goals conceded. Only 4 clean sheets. It's not good enough for someone who's in the starting 11 90% of the time. 9 times out of 10, you've got Robert Sanchez in goal, who's much more experienced in terms of how long he's been around in terms of the game. He's closer to 30 than he is to 20, and people are talking about potential, and we think he's going to be a world-class keeper. He's 27 years old. 27 years old, and you think that there is still hope that something's going to change when his stats are some of the worst stats. Forget what you've seen from a Chelsea goalkeeper, but from a Premier League goalkeeper. If you were any team in the Premier League, would you take Robert Sanchez? Would you? Would you take Sanchez if you were pushing for the title? Would you take Sanchez if you were pushing for top 4? If you were a mid-table team, just a stable team, you don't really do much, but you're always hanging around. Generally, it's comfortable, no relegation. Would you take Sanchez? Why risk your stability for a goalkeeper who's not stable? If you're fighting relegation, you get enough mistakes from everyone else on the pitch. You don't need that from your keeper as well. So I think there's actually an argument to be made that no team in the Premier League would take Robert Sanchez. Forget Chelsea, arguably one of the biggest clubs in the world. We don't look like it with our goalkeeper. When you look at the money that we've spent and where we've invested, there's so many question marks, and the striker, that gets thrown around a lot, although there are still a couple of days in the window to see if we can wrap something up. But the thing that shocks me the most is why we're not prioritizing not even a new goalkeeper, just the right goalkeeper that we've already paid for. You've got Mike Penders coming in the door next season. And what, are you going to play Robert Sanchez ahead of him as well? So in that perspective, I do think that we need to sort so much out. And this could epitomise a very, very painful season for Chelsea fans if Enzo Maresca is stubborn and decides not to change the goalkeeper. Also, this depends on the board and the ownership as well. Are they going to tolerate so many mistakes and dropping points when we were in such a comfortable position? Come December time, we were talking about a title race, and it's all slipped, hasn't it? It's all slipped. Now we're questioning if we can make top 4. And the answer is, I think we can make top 4. But can we do it with Robert Sanchez at the helm? Absolutely not. And if Maresca chooses to continue playing Robert Sanchez, then it becomes a Maresca problem. Now, I think that he'll probably have some sense. And if he doesn't drop him for West Ham, he'll drop him for Brighton. He will eventually drop him because Sanchez has proven you can't count on him. You can't rely on him. He will cost you the job. Ultimately, you can't have players that make so many mistakes. And listen, I've got nothing personal against Sanchez. I think he's probably a nice bloke. But we signed him because he was meant to be good at distributing the ball. And, he was good at passing the ball out from the back and finding the players even when he was going long. And he's got one of the worst percentages in the league in terms of ball distribution. It's shocking. Every time he goes long, it might look nice from a technical point of view if you didn't actually see where the ball went, by the end of it. But ultimately, we need end product. We need players who are ready to perform on the pitch straight away. I have a friend who went to university with Hilario's son, and obviously Hilario's just left the club. And one of the things that Hilario said was, in training, Robert Sanchez is unbelievable. He's amazing. But the problem is, when he comes on the pitch, it's it just falls apart, doesn't it? I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that out. So we need to get Jorgensen in. People talk about establishing a new number one. You haven't got a lot to live up to. There's not a lot of pressure because you're competing against a guy who, let's be frank, he's a bum. He's not good enough at this level. He's not good enough to be at the level of the first division in England, let alone one of the best teams. How Robert Sanchez is at Chelsea Football Club, I will never know. And at the time, listen, I'm all for taking risks. I'm not opposed to it because risks can pay off. But this was just stupid. It was a stupid decision to sign Robert Sanchez. And I hope we can offload him. I mean, his transfer market value, according to transfermarket.com, is still valued at £20 million. I mean, if you could get £20 million for Robert Sanchez in the modern day, that's unbelievable. I don't think it will happen. But yeah, that's my stance on it. I think it's important that Chelsea fans let their voices be heard if he is starting against West Ham. I'm not a fan of booing your own players. And it's not about booing Sanchez, but it's about communicating the fact that we're unhappy with what we're seeing. And it's such a simple decision. You can talk about inverting fullbacks and passing out from the back and this and that. If you can't pick the right goalkeeper, I'm sorry, you're not good enough to manage Chelsea. But, I'm not done with Maresca as of yet. I still like Maresca, but I do think that Sanchez will cost him his job if he keeps playing him. So if he's smart, he'll drop Sanchez for the West Ham game. Otherwise, I think it's going to be a slippery slope, and I think we'll see more mistakes. But listen, I'd love to be proven wrong, but we said the same thing months ago, didn't we? And it's only gotten worse. And you go back to all the games, United with the penalty, Liverpool could have saved, done better with one of their goals. He had a great game against Bournemouth, but then you've got Brighton, where 2 of the goals we conceded were because of him. You've got other games that we conceded goals because of Robert Sanchez. Under Pochettino with Arsenal, we drew that game because of his mistakes. So I don't even think I'm saying anything controversial here. I feel like I'm just saying what everyone else is thinking. But let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think Robert Sanchez should continue to have game time at Chelsea? Or is it time for a change? Bring Jorgensen into the fold, or even bring Petrovic back from Strasbourg, although I don't think that's going to happen. But let me know what you think, guys, and we will catch up very, very soon.